President.
Well, and he's just lying about what happens at Harvard. Rigorous debate. One of the issues here was a lack of diversity of viewpoint. So I don't know exactly what it is they're debating, except I guess Jewish students say they have the right to exist on campus. This has nothing to do with academic freedom, certainly not in the traditional sense, because just a few years ago under the Biden administration, when they decided to redefine Title IX, particularly around gender identity issues and gender expression, Harvard didn't send out a blog post and an open letter condemning what this would mean. What they did immediately was draft new policies so that they would comply with the new Title IX rules, so they would maintain federal funding. And even just stepping back from that, because this is really about progressive ideology, when BLM made all these demands, Harvard decided to jump through hoops to please them by instituting new DE&I programs, increasing funding. This has nothing to do with academic freedom. They are being held hostage by ideologues. And I think a lot of folks within the Harvard administration are equally ideologically aligned with folks on the radical left. And so this is just a rejection of anything that is perceived as conservative or is perceived as simply being supported by conservatives. And unfortunately, Jewish students here are going to pay a price. And ultimately, the students are going to be out of some of the federal funds.
Would that put former President Obama and others in his political camp? By the way, he went to Harvard Law School. Pushing against, are they anti-Semitic? We can't say whether or not they are. I'm just asking the question because I'm not listening to what they're saying because I almost don't believe them because I can see what they're doing.
As a Jew, my response might be different than some others, but I think that if anyone's emboldening or enabling anti-Semitism, if they're justifying it even for different reasons, I view it as anti-Semitic. They might not be anti-Semites themselves, but they are certainly emboldening the anti-Semitism. And I'm not sure at the end of the day if there's a real difference to me as to whether or not you're emboldening it or you're an anti-Semite yourself, because it feels the same way as a Jew.
Let's talk a little bit, because you mentioned DEI. That's actually what this first $2.2 billion is about. It's about those programs and the defiance of what this President Trump wants to do and to correct their policy for what he's demanding through executive order. There's more to come. He eventually wants to freeze $9 billion. This is just, so it's literally funding cuts and funding cuts over and over and over until he gets to that number.
Well, it's funding cuts on funding that they are not owed. There's not some sort of constitutional right to bleed taxpayers dry for any private university. If they want federal funds, okay, I understand that, but you're going to have to apply to the rules or have the rules be applied to your institution. You don't just get a blank check and then do whatever it is you want to do. Sorry, that doesn't work here. It should have never worked, but they've been allowed to do it for so long.
Jason Rantz, always great to have you talk about these topics on Focus. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching the Faulkner Focus. Outnumbered after the commercial break.
Here at Merchant Gold Group, we are very happy that President Trump is back in office. Now our country has a legitimate hope for the future. But there's still a lot of work to be done.